Thank you all for taking time this morning to share together and to explore. I appreciate it. I see some familiar faces here and there, and it's wonderful that you've come back to share more time together. So, boy, that introduction is kind of hard to live up to. It sounds pretty fancy. So our agenda today is we're going to chat a little bit about past lives and spirit guides and similar things. Maybe take a few questions if we have time, and then take a little break, and then we'll come back. And I want to prepare you. I have some things to share with you so you can get the most out of our regression today. We're going to do a group past life regression. And then we're going to go through the life that we visit and explore. We're going to go up into spirit and see if we can connect each of you with one or more of your own personal spirit guides. So that should be pretty fun. You know, you might, before we do that, I was thinking it would be good. It's always good to have a target for these sessions. So before we begin our session, which won't be for, I don't know, half an hour or so, but maybe think of a question or a personal issue or something you've been wondering about. Maybe think of a core question. What is the burning question in your life right now? And so we'll use that, you can use that as your target as we do our regression, It could be anything. What should be my career? Maybe I have a chance for changing my career. Maybe there's a relationship issue. Maybe there's, why am I here, basically, is probably the biggest question people have that come to me. Why am I here and what am I supposed to be doing? That it could be something, what are the lottery numbers for today? It's worth a shot. Actually, I've had a lot of people try that. I don't think anyone's hit that. Usually the guides just laugh. They're like, yeah, right. So, but anything's game. So whatever's, hi, nice to see you. Whatever is burning in you today or lately, that's maybe what you want to think about. And we'll gear our session towards that. Sound good? All right. So past lives, we all have them. Every client I've ever worked with has usually many past lives. Some just a few, some dozens and dozens. Some people have hundreds or even thousands. And if you think about the universe, it's very large. I think they say there are something like 200 to 400 billion stars just in the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy. And there are billions of galaxies. And so, wow. And it's still expanding from the Big Bang. And so there's a lot of worlds out there. There are more places to visit than just this beautiful world. And so we find that with some of our clients. So yes, we all have past lives. And so I would say that your soul's journey through time and space is like a colorful storybook with many, many chapters. All of these lives, and they are connected in some way. The common thread, what is the common thread? It's you, your soul, your spirit. We're exploring many, many aspects of creation. And so one experience that many souls choose to experience, to participate in, is to incarnate into physical bodies, into places like the earth. It's not the only thing that souls do, but it is something that we do for certain reasons. Obviously, we're all here. There's at least a portion of us who are living this life here. Maybe we can talk about that a little more. So why, you may wonder, why would souls choose to leave the loving comfort and the warm, blanket and connection of the spirit world, to come down here into these little bodies and feel separate and isolated and undergo toil and struggles and problems and hunger, cold, pain, illness, losing loved ones, probably the worst thing. All of the many trials and tribulations that we face when we're incarnate in a body. It sounds a little crazy to me. I mean, why ever would you do that? It's sort of like rousing up out of a warm and toasty bed in the morning and jumping into an icy lake. Are you out of your mind? So I've wondered about this, and I've asked many, many times in sessions. I've asked people's spirit guides. And so while there are various reasons and goals for incarnating, there is a consensus. Why do we take these physical lives? Basically, it's to grow, to experience, to expand, to grow our awareness, to expand in knowledge, expand in understanding, wisdom, compassion, all of that. Having physical experiences enriches the soul in ways that we can't really do in the spirit world. Physicality can be a testing ground. Like in college, you have the lecture and then you have the labs, right? So you go to the lectures and learn all the theory, then you have to go to the lab and test it out and hopefully don't blow up the building. So that's what this is. In spirit, we can learn all about love and forgiveness, but then we might want to come down here, test things out. If someone stabs you in the back, it really hurts, physically or emotionally. Do you really have it in you to forgive? Does your soul come through? Have you really learned? So again, it can be a testing ground. And so another reason we incarnate and have these adventures is we just seem to be very curious beings. However we've sprung out, from sparks of God or the source, whatever you want to call it, we're inherently curious beings. We're always wondering what's over that ridge or that crest. What's beyond that cloud? Even in the afterlife, as you've probably, studied and heard many people speak about, you can have any various experience. Let's say playing harps with Jesus on a cloud, and it's just beautiful. But after 1 million years or so, it's going to be like, what are those people doing on that cloud over there? We're just curious, and so that's another reason we come here. Also, there's a certain duality in physicality. There's day and night, light and dark, waking and sleeping, happiness, sadness, wealth, poverty, health and illness, up and down, here and there, all of that. And so maybe we couldn't truly understand one without experiencing the other. So that's another reason why we come and have these experiences. It seems pretty harsh to have what we might call a negative experience, let's say getting sick. But boy, let's say you get a cold or something like that, you feel pretty miserable for a week or two. I haven't had a cold in a while, probably because of the masking and all that, but colds seem to be lasting longer. I don't know if it's me, they're like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, but when it's done, it's just like, wow, you feel so good. And you realize, I'm taking this for granted. I've been taking health for granted. So it's good to have this duality, right? And so we choose this experience. It's not foisted upon us or forced upon us. We really do choose it ourselves. And I know I have clients who bristle at that. They don't want to think, why did I choose to be born with no legs or, to be poor or something, I don't know, but we can explore it because there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. Some people might feel like, I didn't choose this, but when we do the session, like I understand how they feel. But we talk to the guides, we talk to the higher ups in spirit. And I'll always come to the point of, did she actually have a choice? And they'll say, well, yes, of course. Everyone has a choice. So karma, God, someone else, they do not force this on us. We choose it. And up there, we tend to be rather eager about it. We're like, yeah, I want to do this. It's like going to Disneyland or something. Get to go down there and have all these experiences. Yeah, I'm going to choose this challenge and this challenge and this challenge. Just give me a whole sack full of challenges. Yeah, because, up there, it's very easy and clear. And we come down here, we're like, oh boy, maybe I bit off a little more than I could chew. So every single person I've had in a session finally admits in the end they did choose it. And there are always reasons why. And so maybe that's for another time. Some other lecture or event, I do like a pre-life planning session where we go and visit and say, why did I choose this life? What was it all about? What were my goals? So that's something to look into. And so it's actually considered a blessing to have this opportunity to live in these bodies, even though, again, there's hunger and cold and all the rest. And again, in a sense, souls line up and they're very excited. It's like going to the Disneyland of a physical lifetime. And just like an amusement park, there's thrills and chills and spills. So it's, how can I say, we never know. I mean, once we're down here, we never know what's going to happen. The earth is sort of like a one-room schoolhouse where we have the kindergartners in with the 12th graders and the 5th graders and the 9th. It's a credible mix, and so that's kind of the fun. Part of the fun is the chaos of this place. But these lives are not for the faint of heart. There are souls who choose never to incarnate. They're like, I ain't going down there. It's crazy down there. It's chaos. I can't believe you would do it. But so, why? Why do we choose to do this? Because, as I spoke about earlier, inherently we want to grow, and living a physical life accelerates our growth. It accelerates the process. It's sort of like going to the gym. You know, if you lift like a pen, let's say a pencil, you lift that 100 times, it's not going to do too much for your bicep because it's so easy. If you lift 25, 30, 50 pounds, it's hard, but boy, it's going to grow that muscle. And so similarly with our lives, we choose these challenges in order to, strengthen ourselves, to strengthen our souls. The challenges of a physical life enlarge us and expand us, just like that heavy weight at the gym. And then also, let's not forget, it's not all doom and gloom down here. There's lots of delights and pleasures to savor. And this is something that we love to experience, especially through the senses of the body. Because as souls, we don't have the same instrumentation. We perceive in different ways, but having a body, having taste buds, and having eyes and ears, and so it's a big draw for souls. It's exciting. Think about looking at a beautiful landscape, or a seascape, or a beautiful painting. It's so pleasurable to see. It's a beautiful thing. Or listening to a beautiful symphony, or a child's laughter. These are delightful things that we can enjoy. And the other senses, smelling the subtle perfume of a rose, or, other flowers and blooms. It's just it's an exquisite thing, right? So, or let's say the green, earthy smell of an ancient forest after a rain. It's just this earthy, clean, green smell. It's a wonderful thing. And so we can't experience that in spirit quite the same. Then there's the touch, the hug or kiss of a loved one. Or just feeling the wind in your face as a kid riding your bike. The freedom, the energy of youth, all of that. These are incredible experiences that we can really only have in the physical. So then there's food, right? Ice cream, chocolate. One of my favorites, cheesecake. So, choose your own dessert. It's just magnificent. It can be delicious down here, let's just say. It can be very delicious. So, how many lives do we get? Basically, as many as we want. There's really no limit. As we say, the universe is huge. It's big. There's plenty of experiences for all. But how many lives do we need in order to achieve the goals of our soul? Well, it's very individual. For every life, it's sort of like taking a class in school. Maybe this semester I'll take, economics and anatomy and, algebra. And so I'm going to focus on that. That's one lifetime. We can't do everything in one life. It's just not possible. It would be like taking 400 classes in one semester. You couldn't do it. So there are certain things we're working on for each individual life, and maybe we'll get to touch on that today. I have had a handful of clients who've lived just a few earthly lives, maybe just a handful. And so they usually maybe prefer to live in a much more a lighter world. The earth is considered to be kind of a dense, heavier, kind of a rough neighborhood, I might say. It's not for the weak. And so, my hat's off to you. I salute you for being here and going through this, each of you. It's not easy. And they know upstairs that it's challenging down here. And we'll talk about that a little more. Then again, I've had, as I mentioned before, people who've lived hundreds, thousands of lives here and in other places. Yes, other worlds, because it is a big universe. There are so many different experiences available, different parameters of colors. The grass is, when I'm doing a session and they say, the grass is purple and the sky is orange and I have, 9 arms. I'm like, okay, probably not here, probably somewhere else. It's like infinite out there. There are even stars being born as we speak, new stars and new worlds. So it's an evolving universe. And there's so many experiences that we have the opportunity to have. We learn from all of it. So here we are now in a body in this field trip, this semester, living a life. Why do we have to think about or care about or study about our past lives? Isn't that in the past? Can't we just let that go? Shouldn't we let that go and be here now? As the old book says, well, yes, maybe we should. And for some people, it's the very best thing. For some people, it's not productive to look back. They just need to be here now, be a householder and a dad, and just focus on that. And that's good enough, and that's fine. That's what they need. Just forge ahead and do that. Everyone has their own mission and goals in a particular life. But here's the thing. All of these lifetimes, they're not separate. They're very much interconnected. And they can influence each other. They can influence one another in subtle ways, or maybe not so subtle ways. Who's aware of Jane Roberts? Jane Roberts and Seth? Okay. Yeah, so this was a woman in the 1960s and 70s and into the 80s in upstate New York who was a psychic teacher and a writer. And then she also began to channel this spirit teacher named Seth. And these books are still some of the most deep and intense spiritual books. I can read, one page 9 times and still try to figure out what does that paragraph mean. They're really good. So, if you get a chance, it's deep and amazing stuff. So back in the 60s, Jane used to host at her home, her apartment, a psychic development class. And students would come and hang out while she was channeling Seth. Little did they know they were hanging out with who would become one of the most famous channels in the world. And they would bring in their private problems and issues and things. And one of her students had a pretty intriguing experience at home that he brought to the class and asked her and Seth about. He was looking in the mirror and he was shaving. And then he became aware of a different face looking back at him. And he figured out it was the face of a Civil War officer who had been roughly interrogating an enemy soldier. There was a certain intensity in that face and a certain harshness and perhaps even a little cruelty. So this 1960s gentle hippie was who went to psychic development classes. He was horrified. And he realized somehow he knew that was an aspect of himself. And so he couldn't deal with it. He brought it to the class, and then addressing his question, Jane and Seth confirmed that yes, this was indeed another aspect of yourself. This was a previous life that you lived, this person. And Seth stated there had occurred an energetic interaction between them. The military officer, he was likewise horrified by the sight of this sort of sweet, gentle, kind of panty waist, he would call it, who he felt, was pretty useless. He was like, what's this? This can't be me. But Seth said that this interaction had a softening effect on that soldier for the rest of his life. He wasn't such a harsh soldier. He wasn't such a harsh man. He had more compassion. Somehow energy from the hippie boy kind of transferred to the Civil War officer and chilled him out a bit. And then likewise, the 1960s hippie boy, he gained from this because he needed a little more male energy. He needed a little more backbone to make decisions and to make things happen. And so it's important to realize that all of our past lives and future lives, they're all connected. I used to have a teacher who talked about, imagine every life is like, imagine you have a glass chessboard that you can see through. And say you have 100 or 1,000 stacked up. So on each chessboard is a lifetime. And this one you're a pawn, and this one you're a king, and this one you're a bishop. So if you look down through the whole, all of the boards, there's a whole dance going on of all these pieces. So on every single board that makes one move, it affects the whole. So it's easy to think that a decision we make today, well, that will affect our future lives, right? But it also affects our past lives in some mysterious way. It's all connected. So there can be a connection and a bleed through echoes of other lives coming into your current life here and now. And as we've seen, it goes both ways. So it could be positive qualities. It could be traumas or issues that are still dogging you. So that's part of why we have these methods to unearth these issues, unravel these issues, and basically to help you achieve the goals that you came here to achieve. People sometimes get stuck, in a life. You get zapped by events, traumatic events, or just certain experiences. And sometimes you'll carry that with you until it gets resolved. So we all carry memories of our past lives deep within our souls and our unconscious minds. Even right now, walking around today, those past lives are affecting you, whether you know it or not. And so these memories can surface sometimes in dreams or meditations or just spontaneously in sudden flashes of insight. Or they may just lie in wait beneath the surface. And so how can you glimpse your other lives? Well, there are many methods and many ways. Meditation, stilling your mind, eliminating distractions, focusing on your breath or a candle flame or something. This is a good way. self-meditations or guided meditations are good. For me, I found that one of the most effective ways I can help a person to access their other lives is through hypnotic regression. So, hypnosis is the other side of the coin for meditation. It's not really that much of a difference. There are some differences, but it's not that big of a deal. So just briefly, what are some of the benefits of past life regression therapy? Well, number one has to be uncovering the root causes of current issues. I'm angry and I don't know why. Or I'm anxious and I don't know why. Where is this coming from? It could be childhood. It could be something that happened last week. We don't know. But it could also be something that happened, 900 years ago. So it's pretty interesting to explore this. Once we understand where it came from, we can look at it, we can understand it, we can work with it there at the roots. There are different methods, hypnotherapeutic methods of working with issues and healing them. Basically, it comes down to what is the learning I need to get from that. There's always an insight or a point or a learning. So sort of the golden question in hypnotherapy, especially spiritual hypnotherapy, is what does she need to learn or to know? The learning of which will enable her to release that condition. So there are bleed-throughs, We carry some of these issues with us through our lifetimes. But why do we do that? When we die and we go up into heaven and into spirit, we could get healed. We could just be washed clean. But people choose to hang on to something. They choose to sort of make a pattern of this. I had a client who had a throat problem. It was stuck and scratchy and congested. And she was wondering, what's that all about? It kind of just cropped up. And so I had worked with her before. And so we were going to the heart of the issue. And then her spirit guide kind of pops up like pretty quickly into her awareness and talks through her and says, I can show you 16 lives that have to do with her throat. She's been shot in the throat. She's been hung by the throat. She's been chopped in the throat. She's been stomped in the throat. She's been slashed in the throat. I'm like, okay, well, why? What's the point here? She's not speaking her truth. So all of these lives where she was injured, it had to do with her not speaking her truth. And so I found that I didn't know this going in, but there was a problem at work where she felt she was passed over for a promotion, and she didn't, say anything about it. And so doing this session, she did speak about it. I don't think she got the promotion, but at least she spoke out about it. And then her throat issues just drained away. It disappeared. And so it got triggered, by this thing, this long-standing pattern. It got triggered by this current issue. So we see that a lot. Just briefly, I know we need to move along, but some other benefits of past life therapy. Releasing old emotions, old stuck energy. Sometimes people need to cry it out or whatever, shake, whatever happens. We let them do that. Understanding and healing personal relationships. Why don't I get along with my son? Why is my husband, such, so difficult? Well, there are probably reasons for that. whether you chose to butt heads in this life or whether it's a long-standing thing, you're probably actually friends in spirit, where you help each other by rubbing each other the wrong way sometimes. It's very interesting. So another thing we can do is connect with past talents and interests. And then again, one of the most important things is remembering your path and purpose in the current lifetime. You can usually do that. And we're going to do that today with you. So, just a few words about spirit guides, and then we'll take a few questions. And so, what are spirit guides? We might also know them as guardian angels, protectors, teachers. Spirit guides is sort of a blanket term for these non-corporeal beings who help us help us achieve our goals. They do this when we are incarnate, and they do this also in spirit between our lives. We sit and talk with them about things in between, which is very cool. Many classes of guides, they can be souls just like us who've gone through lifetimes and are now focused on helping those who are just a couple steps behind them. There are beings of the angelic realms who can help us and guide us. There are elemental beings or animal spirits who will help us as well. There are ancestors or family members. Like old Aunt Edna, who used to say witty things while she was knitting away, right? So she can come back and our crossed over loved ones tend to still care about us, and they view us or hang out with us. And they give us signs, that picture fell over, or they flickered the lights and stuff like that. They can do funny things with energy. There are also spirit guides who are beings of the higher dimensions that kind of hard to describe, because I don't even understand what a dimension is exactly. But beings from other worlds we may have lived in. Also in sessions, I see very highly advanced beings like ascended masters, archangels, even religious figures such as Jesus, Mary, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Moses, Muhammad, Lao Tzu, or even Gaia herself, the spirit of the earth. All of these beings I've had the honor to communicate with in sessions. And so each of us has many, many beings from the spirit realm that are helping. And they're all generally accessible to us, but we have to ask. Oh, they're there, they're helping us. But when we ask, it just opens the doors much wider. So just say, in your mind, yes, I need help. Angels, God, whatever you believe in, help me figure this out. I have so much to share with you. I'm probably running low on time. Let me take a quick look. I just want to say they can show themselves to you in your mind's eye in different ways. They might appear like old venerable beings, like Merlin or Gandalf, or like a Native American shaman, or like a priestess or oracle of ancient Greece, a beautiful woman in a robe. It's just amazing. And sometimes they don't appear visually. You just feel them, sense a presence, just know them. Or have words whispered in your mind. You got to trust that. So they can have different personalities. Some are warm and loving. Some are light and airy, almost like fairies. Some can be rather stoic and serious, almost grave, or even a little cranky. You should have done this, you should have done that. Some are full of humor with a twinkle in their eye. masculine, feminine, androgynous. Just like us, they're all different. But what they share in common is a deep love for us and a desire for us to ascend, because we're all connected, even with them. Every time one person learns something or ascends a step, we all ascend a step. And so it behooves them to help us who are lagging behind a little bit, to help us forward. Let me just leave you, for now, with some beautiful words channeled by one of my clients from her very lovely spirit guide. The guide said through my client, "I know thee, I love thee. I have known thee ages upon ages, eons upon eons. Thou art a heart of my heart, and I cherish these lives we've spent as teacher and student, as student and teacher. Go forward now, as if it were a new morning, and seek that which thou desirest. Do these things with a glad heart, joyful, with the knowledge of who you truly are. Be not bent down by the worries of the world, for all this shall be but a fleeting moment." Thank you. And so, again, I have so much to share, but maybe if anyone has a question or two, we would be happy to address that.
Soul live two lives at the same time.
Absolutely. And they do. Sometimes they do. Souls are complex beings. They're many-leveled, multi-dimensional beings. And so you might be living this life. What's your name, by the way? Pam. It's nice to meet you, Pamela. And so, Pamela, you might be living this Pam life, and you might be doing something else in spirit, helping nurture spirit babies or something. You might be doing something on planet X, with learning about the universe. And you could be this guy in Arizona who drives a pickup truck. So we have many things going on. I do get clients who have simultaneous or overlapping lifetimes.
I have one more question. Exit points. Before we come here, do we pick our exit point when we choose to pass over? And do we have different exit points that we're allowed?
Yes, I've asked about that. Thank you, Pam. It appears that we kind of plan several possible exit points. And then we're kind of on the fly as we go. We might choose this one or that one. Or we might just take a left turn and choose something totally different, because we have free will. Even though we plan things, we also have free will. People ask, is it fate? Is it destiny? Is it all written in stone? Or do we have free will? I would say it's both. So we do make blueprints and plans, but we also are free to choose as we wish.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
I had a question. As an individual, I'm interested in getting in touch with past lives, deceased loved ones. How would I do that? I know you had mentioned meditation, but are there ways that I could use as an individual to make contact or open doors? Thank you.
You can come to someone like me who can help you, someone who's experienced, and that's going to involve time, money, and driving somewhere or using Zoom. If you want to just do it by yourself, there are different ways. You can go on YouTube probably and find 10 million meditations about how to reach your crossed over loved ones, something like that. So basically it comes down to, finding a quiet space whether it's, at home or going out to the park or something, going to the beach. This isn't too far from here. Finding some quiet. You need to quiet your conscious mind somehow. Maybe by focusing on something. Maybe you sit on the beach and just watch the waves and listen to them. Maybe you stare at a candle flame. Maybe you pay attention to your breath in and out. Something like that. It's good to have some focus like that. Then you just let your questions loose. You just, ask in your mind, Grandma, are you there? Grandma, I'd love to talk to you. Come into my awareness. So basically get quiet, get calm, and ask. It comes down to that. Oh, and then trust what comes in. Because you're going to think, oh boy, I'm making it up. Oh, I think she would say that. It's probably me making. No, you can't do that. You got to just trust what comes in. And the more you trust what comes in, the clearer it starts coming in. So that's the third leg of the triad there. Trust.
Earlier you gave the example of the hippie and the soldier. Okay?
Yeah.
So I understand what you meant by the soldier maybe having an influence on the 60s hippie. But how did that hippie have an influence on somebody that's passed? Because you said that it made, the soldier realize, the panty waist, oh my God, it made him softer, and the hippie became a little stronger. How did that influence somebody that's dead?
Because are they dead? Is the past dead? In the Seth books and in many other spiritual sources, they talk about everything being now. In some mysterious spiritual way, it's all simultaneous. Like the chessboards, and all the lives, they're all going on now. And so in some way, they're all connected. So I understand it boggles the human mind because we tend to view time as a succession of moments. And we measure time by the movements of the heavenly, bodies, the sun and all of that. And so, how can you affect the past? It doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't make sense to the human conscious mind, but in some mysterious spiritual way, I don't quite understand. We can affect the past. So I don't have any words to prove this to you. I would say just consider it, think about it. Think that the possibility that it's all happening now.
I hear that if there's something you need to go through in, let's say, this lifetime or didn't in a past lifetime, an illness or a project or something, and you want to end your life, do you come back in another life and have to do it again till you get it right? Or are you forgiven? Or I hear many different things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, what I've learned in the many sessions I've done is that it's a very individual, case-by-case, basis on all of that. Sometimes it was a plan that someone was going to leave, early, that they were going to exit. Sometimes they went off into left field and just did that because they couldn't hang or whatever, right? And so do they need to come back and, do it all over again because they didn't finish their lesson? This is a really good question because it brings up karma, right? What is karma? Some religions or philosophies would say karma is absolute, an eye for an eye. You did this, you're going to have that done to you. Well, I had a teacher who said grace supersedes karma. Which means, let's say I murder someone, and then I regret it, and I understand I took away from them the opportunity of living and learning, and it was wrong. So do I need to, in my next life, do I need to get murdered? Probably not, because I've sort of gotten the learning. That was wrong. That was awful. I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. But does the lords of karma say you must get your head chopped? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But you might say, well, maybe I need to understand what it's like to have my life torn away from me. So maybe you'll make a plan with your buddy. Hey, we're going to be Vikings when I'm around 27, just when things are going great. I want you to chop my head off. And then your buddy will say, no, I don't want to do that. Say, no, I want you to. I'm like, all right, that's what you want. Because you want to learn what it feels like to get your life stolen that way. But it's not that God or the lords of karma or some angry universal punishment, right? No, it's more you making a choice. That's what I see. All right, so why don't we take a few-minute break, like a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and we'll do our group session. Sound okay? All right, thank you.